good, people? Izzy Max here, back again. That should say season 4, but it got deleted. But this is week 1 post game. This is where we kind of just go through the games briefly, just kind of discuss what happened in them, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Just kind of bounce some ideas, what we seen, what we thought was cool, what we thought maybe was a misprep or a misstep. But before we get started, the link to the Google form to join the server is in the description down below, as well as the league Twitter. But as always, I am joined by Matt.
What's up, guys?
I am joined by Ryan.
Hello.
And then Dan will probably jump in later. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump in. If you notice, this is Ice Week. All of our Ice Mons performed very, very well this week. So our first game, one without an Ice Mon, and I think this was Ryan.
Yep, I'm the one who's taking this one. And also, by the way, this will be a slightly shorter video this week compared to perhaps the usual, and we will split back into breakdown crews. It'll be Matt and Maxwell for their division, and then Dan and I for the other division, and we'll do them that way. So, this week we have Noah versus Maxwell. That was the first game that was played of the season, and it was a great set. I gotta tell Noah, his nickname game was on point. Really liked those. Really what this game boiled down to was a lot of positioning plays and some good item and move slot choices. I really liked the acid armor on the Alcremie. That was super, super, super smart. Maxwell was having a tough time with that throughout the set. I also really liked the Focus Sash T-Tar. That was really cool. Maxwell had some good techs too. I really like Aurasphere Latias. You don't actually see Aurasphere get teched very often. And just some generally good prep. I really liked the Mamoswine. It was a really cool bring this week. And it was a good set. This is definitely a great one to start the season out on. EDC Maxwell won with a +1. It was a very tight set, a lot of back and forth. Noah did get a little lucky in game 2 on living on 1 HP twice. But there wasn't a whole lot to kind of say about this set other than just really good play, really good techs, and a great way to start the season. Any thoughts, other two?
Matt, go ahead.
I don't really have too much to say, mostly because, to be honest, I watched this game very soon after it was released, and that was a while ago, so I don't really remember a lot of the specifics, but I'll just say that it was a well-played game. It was very close. I agree with Ryan. I really like the Alcremie set. Interesting to see Alcremie come and not do the main thing that it usually does, which is decorate stuff. So credit to Noah for some creativity there. I thought it was inventive and actually good. So and the excuse me, the game 3, when it went to time, unfortunately there was that crit at the end, so we didn't actually get to see who would win on HP percentage. But I did a little bit of calculating based on HP numbers. I just took a look at Noah's paste a little while ago, and I just for anyone who's curious, because I am. If that crit hadn't happened, assuming that the Alcremie recovers up and everything, there is actually a pretty, like, almost a guarantee that Maxwell wins on HP percentage. So just
the Alcremie couldn't recover. My hit would have been the last hit period.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
yeah, timer was out when I got the crit.
Right. That would have, like, because assuming Noah stalls, which he was doing, which was correct.
Yeah.
Then another turn does not play out.
Yeah,
Which was good. I respected the stall play there at the end. I don't personally love, like I appreciate whenever you go for a stall play like that and it is, like, strategic, which it wasn't.
Oh yeah, like it wasn't he wasn't intending to stall me. That's just he's seen his win con and he went for it.
Yeah, and I respect
that. You have
really
to.
Nice stuff.
One note I do want to say, Melmetal lived a max quake with like 40%. That's insane.
Nah, it's a dumb Pokemon.
But yeah, so that's game 1. It was super, super good. Props to Noah. He was ranked pretty low in the PRs, and he performed very, very well. So moving on, we have me, and this is going to be Jass versus Tay. I will preface this Tay had to completely rebuild his team with like 5 minutes, just because his showdown pace got deleted somehow, which has happened to all of us. Showdown does that sometimes. But in this match, you really got to see kind of how Jass's team is really constructed with the top 4 Mons in the Mew, Mimikyu, Snorlax, and Togetic. She was able to pivot from a boosting Mew to a Belly Drum, Trick Room, Snorlax with the Mimikyu relatively seamlessly. But other than that, Tay had some really cool techs. There were more that we didn't get to see because he did have to frantically put things back together based on memory. So we did miss some techs like the superpower on Dragonite and just some other ins and out techie moves. But other than that, it was a cool set. When I originally seen the water gun on the Blissey, I was confused because his initial when you watch the match, you're going to see Life Orb on the Volcarona, but his initial prep was weakness policy on the Volcarona. So that's why Water Gun was there. It didn't mean anything in the match because he did have to prep quickly and just put Life Orb on the Volk accidentally. But overall, you might see +5, -5, but this was a good set for what happened. What do you guys have to say?
I think you covered it well.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of an unfortunate turn of events that had the match turn out this way. It definitely seemed like, I don't want to say this was like a free win for Jass because Tay didn't have his real team, but it seemed pretty close. She seemed to be able to do everything she wanted to do, pretty uncontested, especially with that Snorlax mode.
I would also add on top of that that even though Tay had a team that wasn't necessarily what he wanted to bring, Jess's play was still very clean in executing her advantage that she did have. It wasn't like she just sat there and pressed buttons. She actually executed correctly and beat what was put in front of her, even if it wasn't necessarily the team that was expected to be in front of her.
Yeah, for sure. No short credit from Jess. She played that exactly how she flowcharted it. But hey, Dan. Our next one is going to be Dina and Dark. And Matt, I think this one was you.
Yes, indeed. So this was a surprisingly good game. Dina went in with her main mode at least for game 1 being the Coco Feeble. Seemed like it had a really good matchup in a Dark's team, especially with the Vanillix in the back. And Dark came out with a surprise Trick Room in game 1, which was really, really good next to the Max Golurk. It was a little bit risky because Max Golurk is great versus Dina's, like under Trick Room, Max Golurk is great versus Dina's fast mode. Not so good if she happened to have like Melmetal Hatterene in the back or something like that. But turned out to be really good for him. That Trick Room kind of saved him because Dina's fast mode was faster than like everything on Dark's team, so she came out with Raichu and Terrain and Scarf Vanillix and wasn't really able to do anything. Especially because she couldn't stall the Trick Room. I think out of those 4 mons, Coco was the only thing that had Protect. So good tech by Dark there, taking game 1. Game 2 was got a little bit weird with some RNG. I think Dina came in with a better game plan, knowing that she had a chance to just kill the Golurk, and she hadn't revealed the Dark move on Coco. Unfortunately, she came a little bit short. I think if she had gotten a higher damage roll like she got in game 1 with the foul play, she might have been able to kill the Golurk, and Coco would have been quite a bit more healthy. And then she ended up getting probably a game-winning crit on the Urshifu with the Blizzard, which wouldn't have otherwise KO'd, even though it had a special defense drop because it was actually AV Urshifu. But from there, Coco and Raichu did some work in that match, but Vanillix just swept. That's why we had This is part of the reason we had Vanillix up on the title slide. Vanillix did a lot of work for Dina this week. In Game 3 as well. Game 3, I think, went... Dina was kind of just able to do everything she wanted to do, more uncontested. She stuck with the Coco Feeble mode, and she wasn't really threatened much up front because Dark ended up leading with the Pincurchin and Corviknight. He had a surprise lightning rod there, which caught Dina by surprise on turn 1 when she tried to go for max lightning. We thought it was electric surge the whole time. So again, a good bit of prep by Dark. But Dark sort of just let her get the max darkness drops and the howl boosts and set up for a big Coco Vanillix sweep. And he just didn't really apply enough pressure to take out that Coco mode sooner, so the Coco and Vanillix kind of just rolled over him. But overall, really good game. Had fun watching it. I'm gonna throw it to Dan, our resident Coco Feeble expert. What did you think about this match?
Yeah, so this was. I imagine this is what a proud parent feels like, watching the child succeed without them. But I thought it went really well from Dina's end. I love the physical set for Tapu Koko. Foul play on Thievel looks really good into Dark's team. But one question I had, I'm not recalling this perfectly off the top of my head, but the Corviknight was not mirror armor, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up as a misstep.
Yes.
It should have been, but it wasn't, and that's why it kind of just dropped like a fly to a blizzard.
The Vanillix just absolutely destroyed it, and I was watching live, and I did a double take. I'm like, that shouldn't happen. I'm playing a whole season with Vanillix, and it doesn't do that to anything, much less a Corviknight.
Yeah, but she saw the pressure activate and then realized, oh, I can get a bunch of max darkness drops, and then Vanillix can come in later and just blow it up.
Yeah, that was good situational awareness from her, and probably what got her the match after the second lightning rod Pincurchin I've seen in the past week. So I thought that situational awareness and probably the misstep of being pressure, doesn't Corviknight have another relevant ability that isn't pressure and isn't mirror armor?
It's unnerve, but that'll activate too, so you always know if it's not mirror armor.
Right, but I mean, even if it's unnerve, I feel like that's useful, eminently more useful than pressure, just generally. So I think the ability selection on the Corviknight was suspect and may have been the deciding factor in a really tight match. But I do think Dina played well with the Thievel Coco. Maybe this wasn't the week for the physical set from Coco. There's an argument that the special set would have been better this week, but otherwise I think it went very well.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, if you're seeing the MDL logo at the top, that is what the league voted on in our pick'ems. I forgot to bring that up. So luckily, I think we've only seen it on teams that have won, but that is just where the team put their pick'ems. But I thought this game was really, really good. I've seen a lot of good things from Dark's prep that I really wasn't expecting, like the surprise mixed Victini, which was kind of cool. Also the Urshifu, which was AV, which was kind of surprising, but it ended up working really, really well. And then lastly, when I was watching, because we didn't have the whole set until I think match 3, but the Pincurchin really surprised me. And I was wondering why he was cycling protects, because there was a really good opportunity to get a lot of good damage off, because you knew Dina didn't really have the opportunity to double or things like that. But it turns out the Pincurchin's only attacking move was Discharge, which unless you're right next to your Golurk, you're not clicking without cycling your protects. And I think just having to cycle protects like that really just let your offense kind of slide down a little bit. I know the crit on Urshifu was actually huge, and I do think it ended up winning Dina the game, because Urshifu was going for just a raw close combat into the Vanillix slot. And I think at that point, if the Urshifu didn't get crit, it's a 2v1 against, I think it might have been Raichu. So yeah, the crit was huge, but if you had a different attack on Pincurchin, maybe you were even carrying a Sucker Punch, I do think your offense will be a little more sustainable. Discharge, as good of a move as it is very risky when you don't have things, well, like more goal lurks. Ryan, what did you think?
I have a ton of thoughts on this set. I think it was really good. I definitely think Dark was playing this really well. I think he went risky, like Matt said, but I think it was a good risk. I feel like Dark has always really been good at maximizing fairly risky potential options and optimizing what he can get out of them. He did that a lot last season. This was a close game. So I do want to pay some compliment. We spent a lot of time talking about Dina stuff. And I do feel like Dark put on a more than commendable performance here, and most certainly actually does win this set a good amount of the time, barring a few different plays and that potentially that crit. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I do want to say one more thing. The sneaky lightning rod was actually big. You are running electric seed on your Slurpuff, and when you see that, you're thinking, oh, okay, the Pincurchin has to be terrain.
Yeah, that was so cool.
When you're slower than the Coco, you're not ever gonna know unless you actually fire off an attack. So I do really like that, and I thought that was kind of cool. Moving on here, Charles and Anthony. Matt, this is you again.
All right, so I think we've at least three of us discussed this match a little bit before we started recording. Do we agree this is the match of the week?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I was the only one who said it would be the match of the week prior, so give me my money. Pre-game folks didn't say it, and I said it in general chat.
All right, so yeah, this game was absolutely fantastic. Went to 3 games, a lot of good play, and prep in particular on both sides. I have a good deal to say about the prep here. Game 1 was fairly standard on Anthony's end. He was going for the typical Riolu Dragapult combo that was kind of one of his bread and butter combos that he had in mind when excuse me, when drafting his team. Really good combo. You have coaching and follow me. You know, you never really know which one you're gonna get. So really powerful there. He just went for coaching, I believe twice, and Charles was just targeting down the Riolu anyway. So went really well for Dragapult. Just really solid Dragapult play. Toward the mid match, there was, I think, a really key turn was when the Riolu went down and Anthony brought in Ninetales, and identifying that the Genesect had the Douse Drive on it, he knew that a Max Geyser was an option, so he swapped the Ninetales into the Venusaur to tank the hit and preserve Ninetales to win the Weather War, because that was also the last turn of Genesect's Max. So that was really key, and from there Dragapult was able to clean up, and he was able to preserve Venusaur in the back with Sun later on, just in case he needed it. But the Dragapult did a tremendous amount of work there. Game 2, Charles ended up swapping to his Lele Drifblim mode, which is, I think, one of the best things he had into Anthony's team. Anthony, kind of fearing a Will-O-Wisp, decided to target down the Drifblim first instead of the Lele. He also expected a Lele Dynamax, and I think the decision to just go for Dazzling Gleams instead of maxing your Lele was actually pretty good on Charles' end. I think that was he had some solid play there, and he also was able to get Tailwind up with his Drifblim dying immediately, and just got Genesect and Lele and Tailwind. That was really nice. He preserved his Dynamax there, and then the Jolteon came out toward the middle/end of the game with the Quick Feet Flame Orb with Rain Dance, which I think is one of my favorite bits of tech from from Charles' end. I really like that super fast Jolteon with Rain Dance next to the Douse Drive Genesect. Really cool. I did a couple of mock battles with Anthony, and I had the same thing, except I had Rain Dance on Drifblim instead of Jolteon. But same idea. You can imagine with how fast Jolteon is, I'm sure that thing with quick feet outspeeds Venusaur and Sun, so you can just Rain Dance first and shut down the whole Sun mode. Really, really good tech there. I liked that a lot, and it was super helpful for him in Game 2. Game 3 was a lot more straightforward. Anthony, I think, made a good decision in pivoting to his Trick Room mode, kind of bluffing the Dragonbolt Colossal in Team Preview. His Colossal was actually a Trick Room variant this week with a Room Service Diancie that was just a little bit slower, so you could fake Tears before the Colossal moves. But this I think illustrates one of the biggest weaknesses that we saw with Charles' team when we were doing our initial draft analysis. He's got nothing for Trick Room a lot of the time, and this Diancie and Colossal mode just kind of wrecked him. He got lucky with a Heat Wave dodge near the end of the game, but it just wasn't enough because Colossal had done way too much damage already. So that's all we had there. What do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, specifically with a rock style Trick Room mode, there's nothing really Charles could have done there. The Diancie I thought was super cool. This is the first time we were able to see it. And just having all these different modes, bluffing the Surf, having a Sun mode, Trick Room mode, and a very comparable coaching mode, just shows you how versatile Anthony's team is. But Charles, I thought, played and prepped incredibly well, knowing when to pivot to a different mode in Game 2, which I thought was his strongest mode going into this game anyway. But Genesect really did put in the work. It's just unfortunate that it is quad weak to fire against two Firemons. But overall, really good game. Charles definitely could have pulled this one out. The coaches in the league thought so. But yeah, I'll throw it over to you, Ryan.
Yeah, I thought this was great. I really liked it. The Douse Drive and the Haze tech I thought was especially good. Using like Haze Drifblim, if you had that really speedy, it was powered Meteor Beat, but having that potential really fast Colossal be able to be handled with a Haze was, I think, really cool. Also helps the coaching stuff, which I think is great. You get a lot out of Charles was able to effectively address, because Anthony's team, like we were saying, can run so many modes all at once, and I'm impressed by how well Charles was able to handle all those modes all kind of at once. I thought he did a really, really nice job of both prepping this game and playing it. And I want to pay him huge compliments. Obviously, huge compliments to Anthony. The Nancy set was super cool. I thought he played it great. And that Venus switch was pretty excellent. But I just have a lot of nice things to say. I thought this would be the best match of the week, and I was glad to be proven right.
Dan?
This is the one match this week I haven't watched yet, so okay. I am looking forward to watching it because I hear it's good.
All right, fair enough. Moving on, John and Gumi.
Yeah, I get this one. All right. This is one I really liked this set. I was looking forward to this one quite a bit. Both John and Gumi have a tendency towards sort of unusual preps, so I was excited to see what would happen here. So game 1, Gumi went for a coaching Zeraora into the Volcanion, which I thought was really, really, really cool. And running a physical Volcanion set was, I think, a super neat way to try to tackle John's team. And John was running strangely a mixed Duraludon. He was running Stomping Tantrum over Mudshot, because I think it gets Mudshot.
No, it's just Tantrum.
It only gets Tantrum. Okay, never mind. Ignore me.
Yeah.
Still, I liked that it had both the Quake set, the Skill Beam, and Thunder. Like, it was very obvious Johnny was planning on having that be its main max mode. I thought game 1 was super close. I thought it was really well played by both, and Sandaconda really showed its power at the end of that game 1. I think some really good protects on Gumi's end. and a little bit more targeting of that Grimmsnarl from Johnny could have swung game 1 easily in his favor. Really good set. And then game 2 is, so Johnny maxed the Sanaconda after seeing how well it did in the prior game. And Johnny managed to, and Gumi managed to stall Max pretty effectively, set Trick Room with his Runerigus, and then Rock Tomb procced a weakness policy on his Avalugg that then just proceeded to go in and basically sweep, which was really cool. I've never seen an Avalugg sweep before, so huge props. Really creative on both ends. One critique I had, I was talking with Matt about this prior to the recording. Game 2 with Johnny was not threatened on Sanaconda at all with what Gumi led, and I would have really preferred to see him coil turn 1 and potentially even turn 2. I feel like that attack boost and those defense boosts actually could have given him a very real shot, and preserving that max I think would have been much better in here, because he didn't end up getting much out of his max. I mean, he even said, well, this Grimmsnarl is going to click Reflect right now. And knowing that you're going to click Reflect, I feel like you're in a relatively safe position to just go for the boosts there, because Gumi led so passive. Overall, great set. I really enjoyed it a lot. I feel like it was well prepped, well played by both. I think Gumi just had a really good game plan, came in with a nice edge, and managed to take a pretty good win. So those are my thoughts. Anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, I had to watch this at 2x speed because I was crunched for time and didn't have internet yesterday. One thing I want to know is why no actual attacking move on the Thunderous? Which, sure, it worked. I guess relatively. I mean, you lost, so whatever. But you have two Prankster Mons kind of wanting to do similar things. Why not have an attacking move on one of them? Thunderous has
I think he had Rising Voltage on Thunderous.
He had Rising Voltage on.
Was it? Okay. Like I said, I had to watch it at 2x speed, so I wasn't really sure. And I watched
he just never clicked it. I feel like Air Slash would have been pretty solid in what Gumi had.
But
doesn't get Air Slash.
No, it only gets Fly.
I hate Thunderous. Why doesn't Thunderous have the same shit Torn does? Anyway.
But other than that, I wish I would have seen the Marshadow. Granted, I don't really know where we would have seen it, because what Gumi brought really, honestly, didn't probably care about the Marshadow. But hell, maybe take the boosts away from the Avalugg. Not that I think it really mattered at the point of the game. But other than that, we know these two coaches prep insanely, just insanely. So not surprised that we've seen some weird stuff, and honestly some good stuff. Avalugg, if you follow the Twitter, won the low tier legend of the week, and yeah, super cool, super excited to see that Avalugg.
Yep. Congrats for his Gumi's first win of the season. He's a new coach, so
yeah, I really most of my thoughts were covered by Ryan, but I do want to emphasize how cool that Avalugg was. Avalugg was something that I was kind of eyeing last season, because I believe we had it in tier 5 when we had that 5-tier tier list, which was definitely an oversight. I just don't think any of us really thought much about it. But yeah, I mean, if you actually look at Avalugg, like it's really solid. It's got like it has a terrible special defense stat. That's its main weakness, that and just being an ice type, which is unfortunate. But it's a really solid Trick Room sweeper. It's got a big defense stat with access to Iron Defense Body Press. It has lower than base 30 speed, which is really, really nice for a lot of matchups into opposing Trick Room modes. And I think we got to see what it can really do this week, so I like seeing that a lot. Props to Gumi for that.
Yeah, I can add on. Big fan of the Avalugg and the Avalugg set. It was definitely the third best ice type this week in the league, and he can wear that proudly.
Yep. Moving on. Speaking of ice types, Dan versus Hector.
No kidding.
Basically, the whole league voted for Dan. And there's really not much to say. Dan just couldn't stop the Zen mode belly drum Darmanitan. Like, Hector just went in. I know I'm trying to cover this match in as much detail as possible, but I think other than the Darmanitan, I don't think anything else did damage.
Yeah, no, that's the only relevant thing that was in this match.
Floral healing from the Comfey.
Cool.
Yeah, the Darmanitan just went the hell in, and it was insane.
Although, if you want to hear some interesting calcs about this that I did afterwards,
all right, you can say those at the end, because honestly, this one's gonna be quick. There's not much to say. Hector, honestly, sorry, but he just fucking rolled you, and it was insane.
Yeah.
This is the first time the league has seen Zen mode Darmanitan. Because usually when you run it's just guerrilla tactics. You know, choice scarf, choice band, guerrilla tactics. Go in. But Hector, since he does have the double redirection and floral healing, which was super important from the Comfey, he was just able to just do it and say, all right, deal with it. There was a crucial turn, which Dan will probably get into the calcs, but I think the Darmanitan lived on like 2 HP, which was huge. But then Hector was just able to heal it off of floral healing, and with the Salac Berry, it was able just to really just outspeed everything that Dan has and just OHKO it. So yeah, that's really all I have. I don't know if you guys really have anything else to say, because I basically ran through the whole game, but go for it.
Well, okay, what I wanted to say was that Rotom fan critting the Electroweb on the Darmanitan was actually really bad for me, because that put it under 25% HP to trigger the Salac Berry. So otherwise I would have had the speed advantage with Zamazenta against the Darmanitan in Game 1.
Okay.
And then Game 2, because I didn't see it was Salac Berry, I assumed it was whiter when I checked and speed was gone, because I was frantically Googling Cerebi, Darmanitan, Zen mode, what do? And so Game 2, I was operating on the assumption, okay, I'm just going to intimidate it, get that out of the way, then I can Electroweb it, and it's going to be at -1 speed, and that just was not the case.
Right.
But yeah, right. The survival on the cure, I'm like, that happens. It's a little bulkier than you give it credit for. But yeah, Hector prepped really well. I did not have that thing anywhere near my radar, and it was just what the doctor ordered that week.
Also, the Babiri Berry on the Togekiss instead of the Yachi. Bold move, but it worked.
I was so mad.
I respected that.
I
respected that so hard.
I'm like, it's 100% Yachi, because it has to be. I don't own a steel type, and I 100% lead Kyurem in this match all the time, so I'm just going to steel spike it, because he's never going to see this coming. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, no, that was a super bold play, and it really ended up working. So, Matt, Ryan, you guys got anything?
No. Not much. It's a pretty simple game. We all saw what happened, and it was, sorry Dan, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, no,
I'm not even. you can't be mad about losing that. Like, that's just like, if you're gonna lose, you got to go down in style, and like, especially if it's a bad loss, like, you got to go down.
Look, if you're gonna one shot a Zamazenta with a physical move, look, I don't care. You can do it. Go for it.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, Zamazenta can survive a special crit kiss that gets a crit in max. Like, if you're gonna one shot that thing, you're just gonna. I'm like, okay, go for it. It's all you, bud.
Yeah,
welcome
really.
To the Swept by Belly Drum team. I think you're number 3 on MDL coaches. 3 or 4.
Oh man, so.
Yeah, good game to Hector there for sure.
For sure. We get into the matches I think Dan is now covering. So this is Raz and Burst.
Yeah, so I can get through these pretty quickly, but Raz versus Burst. I helped Raz prep this week, full disclosure, when I'm going over this match. Raz was in full panic mode heading into the match, because he's like, I can't stop Aromatisse from getting Trick Room, so I gave him the advice, don't just max Metagross and tell him to beat it. And that's basically what happened game 1, is he maxed Metagross. He had Max Quake and Max Hailstorm and Max Steel Spike on it, and that just did really well into a lot of Burst's team. Like, he can get his weakness policy proc, and then he just cycles through the Torracat, and the Snorlax isn't threatening. He can stop the Snorlax from setting up Belly Drum, and Metagross is eventually going to win the game. Game 2, it gets a lot more interesting, because Burst got really lucky with some RNG, because Raz was cycling Torracat absolutely beautifully. Like, there was a max Snorlax that was at -3, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. And then he crit a Max Quake onto the Torracat to one-shot it from full at -3. In which point Burst is like in the driver's seat. RNG is favoring him, and he gets down to the last turn of the game, and he has the Metagross in Dead to Rights to this Rillaboom. There are 2 different things he can do. He can High Horsepower, which has a 95% chance to kill it. It could miss. Or he can Grassy Glide, which had a 15 and 16 chance of killing it with the rolls. So he went for the Grassy Glide, which is slightly suboptimal, but he also didn't know exactly what the rolls were. He can't know the HPs, so he thought it was in 100% kill range, so I completely understand that. But he got the low roll, which let the Metagross survive on 1 HP. If you watch Raz's video, he just flips out for like a solid 6 seconds before hitting the game-winning move. And so Burst had the awesome RNG, the 1 in 16 RNG of getting the crit exactly when he needed it, and then he had the 1 in 16 RNG against him with the low roll at the worst possible time. And Pokemon is really a balanced game of parity, and what happens to one person will always happen to the other in equal but opposite reactions, and it was just a beautiful week. But what do you guys think about this match?
So there were some questionable things. Seeing Jessica run a Snorlax multiple seasons and then seeing Hunter run it as well. I know it's damage output if you're not cursing or belly drumming, and that is not much.
Yes.
So I was very surprised to see it just straight up max turn 1, which I honestly think is just the wrong play. Not going to say what was going through his Burst mind was wrong, but objectively looking at it, I don't think you ever just max a raw Snorlax.
Mm-hmm.
And then second kind of criticism I'm going to have, and I feel bad, but it's a lot of the criticism is towards Burst this game. I feel like your targeting was just honestly bad. You were not earth powering the Metagross because you were afraid of the weakness policy, but then you high horsepowered it anyway, even though the Ice Punch would KO your Lando clean.
The policy was going to get activated. Like,
yeah, if it was me, I would have just, sheer force life orb boosted earth powered the Metagross. Because, I mean, Metagross doesn't have great special defense, and that hit probably would have put the game more in your favor to where you wouldn't have to rely on that chance for the low roll, which you ended up getting with the Grassy Glide. But other than that, I mean, Raz played it solidly. He knew his flow chart, and he did it very, very well. And I do think there were opportunities in the game that Burst could have won, that he kind of just put himself in. And I think just ultimately just 1 or 2 suboptimal, I won't even say wrong, suboptimal decisions kind of put that game to where you lost because Metagross was at 1 HP. But that's just kind of my thoughts. It wasn't a bad game. I just think some suboptimal plays just kind of did it for you.
Yeah, I think on Raz's end, it was a very solid game. He was playing a very straightforward kind of game, and he executed it correctly. When you have a player who's doing that, there's not really much to say. It was just kind of like, yes, that move was correct. Yep, that move is correct. Yep. So that's kind of how I felt watching Raz. He just had a good mode, and he just played it correctly. On Burst's end, I was a little bit confused at a couple of different points. Maxwell, like you mentioned, I felt strangely about the game 2 turn 1 just maxing the Snorlax straight out of the gate with no setup. It left me wondering kind of like what exactly is your plan here? What do you think this Snorlax is going to do?
Oh,
How is it
by the
going
way,
to help against
real quick,
Metagross?
because we are recording, we did get a paste. I don't know if you've seen it. The Snorlax did have belly drum.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean that also that makes it seem a little bit more strange because you could try to, go for like a fake out belly drum play or like lead Aromatisse and ally switch belly drum or something like that. We did see ally switch from Aromatisse, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pace right now. Yes, it had ally switch. So yeah, it just it had me wondering like why there didn't seem to be a solid game plan for what seems like the most obvious mode coming out of Raz's draft. It just kind of I wasn't sure what his game plan was there. So that's about all I have.
Ryan.
Yeah, you covered it.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, and the last game, also covered by Dan, is going to be Ryan and Toxic.
So this was a very interesting match because Ryan played really well the first 2 or 3 turns of both games, but it felt like so game 1, Ryan maxes the Celesteela. It does Celesteela's things and starts killing things. And then it's sitting in front of, I believe, Indeedee and Arctozolt. It's next to Arcanine, and you have Persian in the back as well. The Indeedee is obviously going to follow me, and there's a decent chance that it's Focus Sash. In that situation, I was thinking, here Ryan obviously, launches an attack, probably targeting Arctozolt, lets it gets redirected into the Indeedee, doubles up and kills the Indeedee, and then you kill the Arctozolt afterwards because you'll have the speed advantage with Celesteela. And then I don't know exactly what the reasoning behind the pivot was. I can't remember, but you pivoted.
Choice Scarf Arctozolt. I didn't want him to outspeed me with Scarf. I wanted to scout for that.
Okay, so you pivoted the Arcanine into the
Persian to try to get a double intimidate on Arctozolt. Yeah.
And then the Indeedee survived, and I think that was what cost you.
No, it died. It was at 1 HP. It died to hail, and then
okay.
And that lost. But my optimal play there is definitely to double attack. You're right. But I was scouting for Choice Scarf Arctozolt because if it is Choice Scarf Arctozolt in that position, my best bet is to get the double intimidate off and then try to win the end game with a double intimidated Arctozolt versus the Persian Steela. Versus the Persian.
I can understand that a bit, but just in the moment watching it, I'm like, I don't know exactly what's happening here. I'm sure he has a reason behind it, but that switch just felt very passive in a position where it felt like you should have been playing more downhill.
Oh no, you're right. I should have retrospectively, but I don't think, in theory, I think that's not as bad as it might have looked.
Yeah, I don't think it's like objectively wrong or anything. I just think it was less than ideal. Like, I don't think it was the most optimal. And then game 2, you were able to max the Assault Vest Azumarill, which is one of my favorite sets in Pokemon. But it just, I don't know if it just wasn't doing enough damage. It just felt like Toxic was incrementally putting himself into a decent position, and then Arcanine's close combat couldn't kill the Arctozolt at the end. And that's what it came down to, because you had to close combat twice, which lowered your defense enough that the Stomping Tantrum is just going to one-shot it from full, even though you'd even taken a little bit of chip at that point, because you were Scarf locked into close combat. Yeah. So, game 2...
it was Shucka, it wasn't Scarf.
It was Shuckaberry, yeah.
Shuckaberry, sorry, yeah, Shuckaberry.
Yeah, I didn't have Protect, though. I was going to run E-Speed, which I now regret, and Aqua Jet on Azu, which I also regret, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was a little shocked about no Aqua Jet on Azu, even though he does have the Psychic Terrain. You just reset that so much. But yeah, game 1, it felt like you had the advantage the whole game and then stopped playing downhill to try and make a switch to face a potential Scarf set, which understandable, but probably suboptimal. And then game 2, it felt like he just had a bit of an incremental advantage. You weren't quite picking up the damage calcs I think you needed to throughout that game. And then it just culminated in the Arcanine not picking up the damage calc on the Arc result. But do you have anything? Do you think I captured the gist of it? Like, it was a really close set, but
No,
I
it
think
was
that
a very
the
good
gist
set.
of it.
It was very close. Couple different prepping things, couple different things on my end definitely would have turned the tables, but Toxic prepped it super well. I actually thought he had a huge matchup advantage. I was saying that prior to the match. I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried about this loss at the beginning of my season. I actually thought Toxic might be one of my losses because his hail mode in the back just absolutely crushed me, and I kind of knew that. And I had a lot of trouble dealing with the Necrozma and DD and the Zapdos and DD lead. Those were two things that I kind of knew going in would give my team specifically a lot of problems. But he played to those outs really well, and it was super good, and I think it's one of his best games on record, so nice job to him.
Matt, anything for you?
This is the game that I remember the least about, so considering how detailed you guys got with it, I don't think there's anything more for me to add. But good game, Toxic.
Yeah, the only thing, and I talked to Ryan about this, the only play that I really would, other than what Dan said, maybe just going for more of the Burning Jealousies after you propped the Aka on the Obama Snow. I don't know how much that would have mattered, but I think it was like game 1. But I don't know how much it would have mattered. Like I said, it just maybe.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not have the time to calc this game nearly as much as I wanted to.
No.
I had no fucking clue how much damage Burning Jealousy would do, and I had no clue how much -1 the Intimidate was going to be significant on the Arc result. The answer to both of those questions was
not enough.
Not in my favor. And I probably should have had the time to calc it, but I did not. So,
but yeah, no,
definitely,
it was a super good game, for sure. Definitely, I know Ryan says it was in his favor, but it is an upset.
It's an upset win, yeah, for sure.
So good game on Toxic. Like, it was very solidly played. He knew what he needed to do to get it done. But that's gonna do it for us. Next week we'll be breaking off into our separate groups, but both breakdowns will be posted on my channel for everybody to watch. Any closing remarks from you guys?
Good job to Hector for taking the first seed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Shout outs to Galarian Darm.
Yeah, I'll try to win a game at some point. I haven't won a week 1 in a league for about 8 months now, so maybe I'll win week 1 next league I do.
There you go.
Never been there, never done that.
But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for us. Be looking for more content. Pre-game will be posted later this week, and just more really good games. If you want to follow just some of the more ins and out action, be sure to follow the Twitter, as I will be posting just some random stuff here and there through the week. But without further ado, Blue Division, Best Division. So peace.